Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Ralph Abernathy, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth. Along with King and Abernathy, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth was part of the Big Three, the legendary leaders of the civil rights movement. A man of aggressive courage and unrelenting drive, Shuttlesworth stepped into new frontiers for freedom and inspired a generation of Americans who dreamed of being free from racism and oppression. In 1953, Reverend Shuttlesworth followed his calling and moved his family, including his 4 children, to Birmingham, Alabama, into the epicenter of racial tension and violence in the United States. And it was in Birmingham at Bethel Baptist Church, where Shuttlesworth was pastor, that the freedom movement in the city began. In December of 1956, the United States Supreme Court ruled that public bus segregation in Birmingham was unconstitutional. Shuttlesworth announced that members of the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights, the organization that he founded, would be boarding all white buses on December 26th. On December 25th, Shuttlesworth was in bed when 16 sticks of dynamite were thrown under his window. The bomb completely demolished the house, but Shuttlesworth miraculously climbed out of the rubble, unharmed. The next day, Shuttlesworth boarded a bus as planned, just hours after escaping death. Not long after this tragic event, Shuttlesworth again put his life at risk. The Supreme Court had ruled unanimously that separate schools for black and white students were unconstitutional. But 3 years later, there was no visible change in Birmingham. Unwilling to let the injustice continue, Shuttlesworth enrolled his 2 daughters into the city's all-white public school.
He told us that Daddy's going to be with you, Daddy and Mama, and you know the Lord is always with us. And Reverend Pfeiffer, who was driving the car. And as he did in every event, even though it was just my sister and Nathaniel Lewis and myself, there were to be no weapons, no anything that could cause harm to anybody. Because first of all, if they saw that we were in danger, then they weren't letting us out of the car.
As Shuttlesworth stepped out of the car at Phillips High School, he was attacked and severely beaten. Yet even in the hospital, Shuttlesworth was more certain than ever that God was with him on his mission.
I was the first one to get to him as he was lying on that gurney getting ready to go to take x-rays and MRIs, and he just patted my face and said, "They can't kill us, can they, baby?"
He was arrested more than 30 times. He was involved in 40 civil rights lawsuits. He was imprisoned, beaten, attacked. He persevered. Shuttlesworth continued to be an activist in Birmingham, but he also found a new location to fight for equality when in 1961 he moved his family to Cincinnati for better educational opportunities. In 1963, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. joined up with Reverend Shuttlesworth, and together they organized 2 tumultuous weeks of protest called Project C, a heroic effort to confront long-standing segregation. These protests shifted the paradigm of race relations in the U.S. Images of inequality galvanized the public, and as a result, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 passed. Shuttlesworth walked away, injuries from a fire hose bruising his body, with renewed hope in the future of the country. Until the end of his life, Shuttlesworth persevered, fearlessly driven by a singular mission. While Reverend Shuttlesworth had a strong foundation in being a champion of civil rights, he ultimately spent the last 50 years of his life advancing human rights and paving the way for other freedom fighters to follow. He fought for workers' equality. He organized the Greater New Light Baptist Church. He mediated racial tension in the city of Cincinnati. He started a foundation to help impoverished families buy homes and fought for the homeless population to receive help. For his courage, cooperation, and perseverance, the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center recognizes Shuttlesworth as an International Freedom Conductor, whose legacy is alive and well in today's freedom fighters.
A black mayor, a black president, teachers' unions presidents, black coaches. Well, I see his legacy everywhere, my children, my grandchildren.
He knew he wasn't going to see all his work come to fruition. The call of my dad's life was to be a leader.
Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, a man of extreme courage and fierce determination to see all people treated as equals. A man who forged a path for future freedom seekers to follow.